Welcome back, friends. I'm Dr. Laura Jaggett. This is episode 13 of the How to Life podcast, and I am glad you are here today. Today's topic is not instructional in nature, and it's not really a basic life skill, but it is informative, and it is something that most people of all ages do not consider in their daily lives, and that is how our body, our immune system, our health, our mental outlook, and our metabolism is affected by the food we eat. In our country these days, we no longer eat for survival. Food is readily available at a moment's notice, and we're very blessed for that. But the calorie-dense, quick food that we usually eat without thought and a more often-than-not sedentary lifestyle has led to some pretty significant health issues in much of our population. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can reset your body and your metabolism and your mindset. It starts with a little education like the interview you're about to hear, and then awareness of how you personally are affected by food, and then perhaps the desire to be more mindful about your health, and then the decision to make a lifestyle change. In case you can't tell, I really enjoy this topic. I find it fun and fascinating, and I really enjoy helping people gain a greater knowledge of how their bodies function. Joining me in this discussion are Tim and Judy Avalos, who are ISSA certified personal trainers and nutrition specialists, and together in their business Be Better Than, they offer online fitness coaching, fat loss programs, training programs, and if you're lucky enough to live in Las Vegas, they'll train you in person as well. So without further ado, get ready to enjoy this fun conversation. Hey, Tim and Judy.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks, you guys, for joining in on this podcast today. I am excited about this topic because I can relate to it and I understand it and I can contribute in the sharing of this information. You guys are personal trainers.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that now?
7 to 10 years. I mean, business-wise, 7 years. Training, pretty much all our lives we've been training, but seriously helping others, closer to 10 years.
This topic specifically, there's so many topics we can talk about, but I want to focus this podcast on fat loss, why it's hard, why fat's important. It's not such a bad thing. It protects all of our organs, and it's
Right.
reserve fuel in case of emergency where we are without fuel. We cannot survive without fat in our body, but say probably starting at the turn of the century, the 20th century, we're carrying more fat on our bodies than in the past. And I think a lot of that comes down to diet.
And why is that? And that's a great question. Why is that the reason? And it all has to do with food, how the food has changed dramatically. And of course, we're not talking about GMOs. That's a whole nother topic. But just in the calorie-dense food is nowadays, it definitely differs from what it was back in the day. You cannot not be fat if you're not watching what you eat, because the food is so dense. You'll just be overweight. It's not the person's fault to a point, because what they're eating is just so dense and they just don't even realize it.
On top of it being dense, it's the abundance and the easy access to all the food.
And it just depends on the person. Of course, is it a general population person, or is it an athlete, or is it a bodybuilder? Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it a teenager? Is it a grandmother? Is it what age group? I mean, there's so many factors of where the fat plays its role that you can't just throw a blanket over everybody and go, hey, okay, this is the way it is. This is how fat works. And that's why we enjoy what we do, is every time we meet somebody, it's a blank canvas.
Yes.
Every single time. We do have some set standards that we like to go off of. But in all actuality, that's what makes it personalized and customized. There's no one way to diet somebody down or to gain weight or to control their fat or to put on weight. That's what makes it so interesting. It's always different.
So when a diet comes out that says, hey, you do this diet and you will lose this much weight, that's usually not the case, because each individual is different and responds differently.
And that's why you'll see in the fine print on the bottom of that commercial, results will vary. And everything is always based off an exercise regimen. And that's also in the fine print at the bottom of a commercial. If you just look at the very end, it just says this client was on a strict exercise regimen. That nobody sees it because that's not really what's advertised. It's just the fat loss supplement pill that they're pushing. Those things in itself are dangerous as well. Poor people are trying to lose body fat by taking a pill. And if that was the case, then we'd all be thin.
Would you say that it is not just diet alone and it's not just exercise alone? It's a combination of both.
Absolutely. And also being in a deficit.
Yeah.
In a caloric deficit,
Yes,
consuming
absolutely.
fewer calories than what you're expending.
Absolutely. And that too comes to an end.
Tell me about that.
When you're in a deficit, like Judy was saying, you can't be in there forever. There has to be an end time. And that's why diets fail, is because nobody has an exit strategy. There's a lot of coaches and trainers that can get you that 20 pounds off, but what happens right after? You pay your money, they guarantee you lose this much of weight, but then that's it. You're on your own after. And what happens is that they end up putting on the weight back.
Let me ask you this. Why does the weight come back on?
Great question. Because fat cells do not disappear, they shrink. That is key. Remember that. They don't just disappear out of the body. They stay in reserve in hopes that you put that body fat back on. Why? Because we want to preserve life. It does not like to be in a caloric deficit. When you're dropping really a lot of body fat, it doesn't like it. So they shrink, and that's how people lose weight. They'll get stage ready, like Judy gets stage ready. We deal with a lot of competitors that are in, single digit body fat on stage. And you can't stay like that. And the reason why the fat comes back is the fat cells were already there. And then once you fuel them up and feed them, they grow.
And more so for women.
Yeah.
Like he was talking about life preservation. Well, we can create another life within us. So we tend to hold more, and we can outlive them and survive more so because of that.
That plays a huge factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Women need more fat than men.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Depending on the person. As coaches, we have to be able to roll with the punches and have something else in place, because not everything works for everybody. And especially women. Learning how a woman handles fat loss is totally different than a male. That's what makes it fun.
Well, as a female, it's not so fun.
No, not at all.
It's not so fun when your guy, all he has to do is not put his teaspoon of sugar in his coffee and he'll lose 5 pounds.
Right.
Yeah. So let's say somebody's coming to you to lose 20 pounds. What's the first thing that you do to evaluate this person and decide what program is best for them?
Well, we have a complete questionnaire that they fill out. The more information we have on that client, the more it's going to benefit the client, because the more specific we can get to them, whether it's your sleeping, how well you're sleeping, what's your occupation, what's your daily activity level.
Do you have kids?
Do you even exercise? Or maybe you don't exercise and you just want to lose the weight.
Are you looking at their eating habits as well?
The only time we probably do have them track their foods now is when they tell us that they eat healthy, because we hear that all the time, and 99% of the time it's not healthy at all. And it's a shocker to them, because then once it's on paper or once it's on a food tracking app, they can see it and go, oh, I really don't eat well at all. So it is an eye opener for them. It does help the client to kind of jolt them to realize that, no, you were never eating healthy in the first place. This is probably why you were not ever losing any body fat. And this is why, your blood work is off and your hormones are out of whack. And it just snowballs.
Also to show them what their idea of healthy is. Just because you're not eating McDonald's every day, but you're having Cafe Rio, therefore that makes it healthy.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. I don't eat Burger King, but yet I have Teriyaki Madness or Samurai Sam's. Or there's so many hidden oils, sugars that make the food taste so good and get you to come back.
The sauces are dangerous.
Right.
So you might be having chicken, but it has some delicious sauce on it, and that negates the chicken.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
What sort of things have you seen that people think are healthy, but really are not?
Fruit.
Yeah.
I eat fruit and I have nuts all day long. I'm so healthy.
Tell me about why that is not.
Well, first off, you have two energy sources that you're using, and the body's only going to pick the fast acting one, which is always the sugar. So therefore, whatever fat, whatever nuts you think you're doing well because it has protein, it's just going to take that and store it.
Let's talk about fruit. Fruit is 100% sugar. Yes, it's a little bit complex, but you can't survive on fruit alone. A fruit smoothie is extremely high in calories and sugar.
Right. But fruit is a different kind of sugar, so the body does process it a little different. But in the end, there's still a calorie behind it.
Yes.
And that's where people need to see that there's calories behind everything that you put in your mouth. And if you're on a fat loss program, it all adds up.
Right. And people don't realize that. They don't associate the calorie behind the source of food that they're eating.
Exactly.
No, absolutely not. And that's where we come in. That we get them to just notice what they're eating, notice how much they're eating, and whether or not they get a meal plan from us or they're doing just macro numbers from us. It just depends on the client and how experienced they are with dieting, because a lot of people don't know how to use a food scale or
read nutrition facts. That's number one.
Or read the nutrition facts.
So you mentioned something that I just want you to touch upon a little bit. Talking about the macros, they're not paying attention to the macros. What do you mean by that?
The macro diet is numbers. We give you your calorie numbers, your carbs, your protein, and your fat numbers. It's a caloric budget. Okay?
I like that.
And you have to stay within that budget.
So a lot of people, I think, believe, oh, if I just reduce my calories, that will do it. But they don't consider the combination or how they're spending their calories. Talk a little bit about that.
So you have calories, right, as being the overall. And then you have your macronutrients, which are your protein, carbs, and fats. And then you also have your micronutrients, which is all obviously your vitamins and everything you get nutritionally wise out of the food. But the macronutrients, the protein, carbs, and fats, are the things that are giving you that calorie number. So yeah, if you just count calories, you honestly don't know how much protein you're ingesting. And especially if you're an athlete or a bodybuilder where you need a certain amount of protein for recovery, you could be actually not recovering well or putting on enough lean tissue as you wish because you're counting calories. That's why macronutrients counting is probably the best thing, because then you can regulate your carbs, you can regulate how much fat is coming in, and then you can regulate how much protein you need. And then once that is established, then you just see how much calories that is and then make the adjustments from there.
Is there an average how many carbs, proteins, and fats someone should have in their diet?
Depends how fat you are. Really, if they're 60 pounds overweight is going to be totally different than a gal that wants to lose 7 pounds before her wedding. You know, there's so many variables in place. It's hard to put a blanket over it. I like to just, especially with the most people that we deal with are active and they do weight lift, resistance train. So yes, protein is always going to be on the higher side than if you were just general population accountant that didn't work out. I would probably not have protein as high because there's no muscle damage. And then the carbs, depending on what you do. I always tell people, as you eat, just look at what you're eating and going, remember, food is energy. So what are you doing with that? It's like drinking an energy drink before bed. Do you need that energy drink to go to sleep? Same concept. Do you need all those carbohydrates or all that fat to go sit on the couch and watch a movie for 2 hours? Or could you just use some protein? So that's how people got to look at their plate. What are you going to do, or what have you just done? So if you're about to go hike a mountain, maybe you could use a Cliff Bar or some kind of power bar with some carbs and some fat because you're about to go use that for fuel, or it'll aid you in fuel. Or you're just coming back from a hike and you want to replenish some of that output. But that makes more sense rather than eating a Cliff Bar or an energy bar and then you're going to go to bed.
The reason for you noting a Cliff Bar or an energy bar is because everybody always mistakes those for being healthy.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to just have a bar. No, those are so calorie dense. Like he said, they're high in carbs and they're high in fat. The two that you don't want together.
Right.
And you're going to go eat that and sit on the couch. You're going to eat that in place of food throughout the day. You can't do that unless you're going to go hike a mountain.
If you're carrying 30 pounds and you're going to hike a mountain, you probably don't need that Cliff Bar. You can just go into your reserves.
But their mind will tell them they need the Cliff Bar. That's where
They get into trouble.
they get into trouble. Yes, they get into trouble because the mind is used to a certain amount of intake. And when that intake is messed with, it doesn't like it. It's like pulling a lollipop from a little kid, right? As soon as you pull the lollipop, they want that lollipop even more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same concept. You start pulling stuff, or you start neglecting what your body is used to, it's going to fight you, and your mind is going to just play tricks on you, going, oh my God, you're weak.
Yep.
Oh my God, I need carbohydrates.
Oh my gosh, I'm dizzy. My sugars drop down too low. We hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to bring them back to earth. We're like, wait a second, calm down. You have plenty. We put enough food on your plan for you for what you do every day. And that's why that questionnaire is so important, to find out about this person and their lifestyle and what they do, because it is tailored to them and to help them embrace the feeling. It's just something we have to help them with mentally.
Well, I think the mental challenge plays a large role in people having trouble losing weight. And it's not mental, it's actually real, because the body wants to hold on to as much reserves as it can for survival. But you can reprogram the body. You can retrain and reset your metabolism so that it functions smoothly, maintains the proper amount of fat, and you don't have those cravings, those drops in sugar.
Absolutely.
Staying within your numbers is the key.
And you can eat them all the time. Like Judy said earlier, it's a budget. It's a nutritional budget.
And it makes dieting so much easier if you know how to budget correctly.
Let's talk about fad diets. What are some of the ones that you've seen, and why don't they work?
Well, let's see. The newest one, everybody wanting to be vegan.
Yeah.
All our clients came to us with that one. That whole Netflix.
Oh, yeah, that movie. That documentary came out. It was very much cherry-picked data, and usually documentaries are driven like that for a purpose. There's an agenda behind a documentary. Any documentary, there's an agenda behind them. Unless it's something that is more of a spiritual thing or part of your religious aspect, I get it. But when it comes to nutritional fat loss types of things, then that's a different story. To be vegan and to get the proper protein, it makes it so difficult, because any other protein that you're going to get besides an animal source protein is not a full protein profile.
And they didn't teach you in that video how to create a complete source of protein.
Plants, peas, all those types of protein, beans, they're incomplete proteins. So it's missing something out of anything besides an animal protein. Any other protein source is missing part of the amino acid chain to make it a complete protein.
Correct.
So with that being said, you really have to be good about what you eat. You really have to put your food groups together to really get all the amino acids you need for just normal body function. I'm not even talking about the athlete.
And what people have to remember when they follow these athletes and actors or celebrities, they got to remember they have a nutritionist and somebody who cooks for them. Yes, absolutely. Exactly.
And we have to definitely remind them that remember, anytime you see an Instagram influencer, Facebook fitness girl guy, there is a huge support system behind that person that nobody sees. You think that girl's thinking of this stuff all by herself? She's 19 years old. She's being coached behind the camera. You don't see all the angles and the lighting, maybe the extreme diet she went through to get to that photo shot. And it screws these people up.
Mentally,
but that's our thorn in our side. All those people that just say, if you just do what I do, you'll look like me. And these poor gals and guys are just eating it up. And especially the youth, because the social media is strong right now. Well, he's got 500,000 followers. People rating knowledge on followers.
Yes.
Well, he's got 1 million followers, so he must know what he's doing.
We have a few clients that we have to put on an electronic device detox. We put it in their plan, and for so many hours a day, they cannot be on the social media because it really messes with people's minds right now.
Well, you get body dysmorphia.
Uh-huh.
You know, you're looking at these gals and guys, and then you look at yourself in the mirror, and it's just not what you're seeing on your phone. And that is a huge disappointment to these people. And they get down on themselves. Yeah. So that's something that we always have to go against and remind them that you're 50 years old. That person you're looking at is 19. Stop looking at other things for motivation and inspiration and look within yourself and the things that you've accomplished and the things that you're able to do and go from there. Because if you're looking for other people, they're going to let you down.
That's true. And I think with anything, it comes down to mindset. When you decide, not want or wish or hope, but when you decide that I'm going to do this now, it suddenly becomes easy. There's this calmness, this certainty, and then you're able to absorb information. You're able to apply it. You're able to be disciplined because you have made that decision.
Yeah, you're right. It has to click. There's a light bulb moment in time because there's two people that want to lose weight and people that kind of want to lose weight. And the majority of the people kind of want to lose weight. It's an idea they have. They think they can do it. But once it's laid out for them, they realize, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. And then there's people that be like, I'm all yours.
When you get to that place where you've decided, it's really not that hard because you're prepared, you're open, you're like, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. And because you've already accepted that, you just do it without resistance.
And people have to remember too, when they sign up with us, it's not forever. You're resetting the metabolism, resetting the body. Give us that time to reset.
That's the key.
Everybody feels like it's the end of the world. You mean I can't have a drink? Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's just for a certain amount of time because we tell them, we understand that there's going to be weddings and birthdays and you're going to want pizzas and cakes. We get that. But when you have a lot of body fat on you, when you do consume those foods, it's really detrimental. But if you could lose the 20, 30 pounds and now you're at a weight where you're lean and you have more muscle on you or lean tissue, now when you eat those pizzas, cakes, and burgers, it goes right to your muscle and not to adipose tissue, which is your fat cells. So you could really be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to have pizza, but I'm going to use it on a leg day, or I'm going to use it on the day after I run a marathon. Or you start really nitpicking and deciding, oh, hey, I got a wedding on the 18th. I'll probably watch what I eat that week. So that way I can maybe have a little bit of that food. And it's just being aware of what you're going to do, but you got to lose the body fat first. That's the key. Yes. You have to lose the body fat.
When you do lose it in a very smart and safe way and you do reset your metabolism, you will find that you can't eat the way you used to. Also, your body processes the food much better than it did when you were holding all that weight.
Absolutely.
Very true.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yep. Your whole system is now different. So now you don't have all that body fat that's waiting to soak it up. Now you have more lean tissue. You can use that and use that food for you. And of course, you don't want to eat like that all the time, but we always say food is social. As soon as you start restricting food, there goes people's social lives. But then again, people also have to look at, is your social life making you fat?
Are your friends
making you fat? Is your environment causing you to either not be successful in your fat loss program or adding more weight, in a healthy way to your food? And the answer is yes to all of that. It's a hamster wheel. They do great Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, they tie one off. And then they wonder why they can't get any traction because every week they're starting over. And then they hate themselves Monday morning. On top of it all, you can't stand the way you look on Monday morning. But then you do it again. And those are the people that kind of want it. They're great Monday through Friday as long as their work is structured. But as soon as Friday night comes, Saturday night, they're like, meet me at the bar. It's the food choices you make when you're drunk. Your wall has come down. And
the
then
discipline
now
goes out the window.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're buzzed. And then all of a sudden you're like, let me see the menu.
I think a lot of people don't realize how many calories are in a beer.
A couple beers is your whole day's calories.
There's a lot of calories. Beer is made from wheat.
Yes.
And that's carb. Wheat is bread. It's carbohydrate. There are, I think people think, oh, well, it's just liquid. So therefore it doesn't count as a calorie.
You're right. And it's worse because they're called empty calories.
Yes.
Meaning that there's no nutritional, at least when you eat a slice of pizza, you got protein, some fats, and some carbohydrates. You at least got your macronutrients. When you drink an alcoholic beverage, there's nothing in there.
Or a Coke.
Or a Coke.
orange juice, so
Yeah.
many calories.
Smoothie. I had a smoothie today from Tropical Smoothie. I'm so healthy. And they add sugar to the darn smoothies.
Yes, they do. People don't realize how many calories are in these beverages.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
food. I mean, food in itself. You go to Burger King, any Carl's Jr., anywhere, a combo meal is at least 1,000 calories.
Well, one slice of pizza from Costco is 1,000 calories.
So if you're on a fat loss program and your allotment is 1,200 calories a day, in order for you to lose body fat, that's your deficit, then you're never going to lose body fat because that's one meal. So if people go to McDonald's for breakfast, they got their Egg McMuffin, their orange juice, and their hash brown. Maybe that's 750, 800 calories. That's not including, when they get to the office, the donut, because somebody always brings donuts and bagels. There's so many people on fat loss programs in these offices situations that just struggle with that. And then where are we going for lunch? Oh, we're going to go have Thai food. We're going to go to this restaurant around the corner. Okay, that's another 1,000 calories. You haven't even hit dinner yet. And people wonder why they're overweight. But I only eat 2 meals a day. Yeah, look at those meals. You're eating 3,000 calories a day in 2 meals.
Are there any apps or websites where you can go and see what you're putting in your mouth? Or can you do it by hand?
Food trackers.
Food trackers, exactly.
Food trackers. There's MyFitnessPal, and then there's one Fat Secret. They're free to use. Of course, they get more detailed if you pay the premium, but those are great tools. They got scan bars on them.
Mm-hmm.
I have used the Fitness Pal myself. When you start writing down everything that you're eating and you look at the macros because it measures it for you, it is shocking to see how much you actually are eating.
Oh, yeah.
Or the unbalance. That's where counting the macronutrients comes in, and just not calories.
So having a trainer or a guide or a coach like you guys, you can help somebody structure and educate them on their food, their intake, what it looks like, what it's doing to them, and how it works. And that's really how one's mind is changed when you are aware of what each thing you put in your mouth costs calorically and nutritionally.
We do 2 things. We either do the macronutrients, which is we give you your numbers for the day, your protein, carbs, and fats, and that's what you have for the day for, of course, a certain amount of time. And then those things get adjusted based on your progress or lack thereof, because there's also that too. Or we actually write out meal plans. Now, meal plans, they're good, but they're very strict. They're good for some people because it gets them an idea of what 4 ounces of chicken looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It gets them to weigh their stuff and kind of get an idea. Because if you give somebody some numbers, they'll be like, oh, then I'll just have a Snickers bar.
Right.
I'll fit it in there. So the meal plans are great for somebody that's new to this. It shows them structure. It shows them meal timing. It shows them how to weigh things, what an ounce of almonds looks like compared to a handful that everybody eats.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when they weigh out an ounce of almonds, they're like, oh my God, that's like 6 almonds, 7 almonds.
That's right.
Yeah, that's like, 16 grams of fat.
Yes.
Those types of things is where the meal plan is great. And then we kind of like to wean them off the meal plan because it becomes a little monotonous.
It becomes a crutch too.
Yeah, it can become a crutch as well too for some people. But then that's where the macronutrients gives that person a little bit of freedom to make different food choices, a little bit of variety.
Right. So it's about lifestyle change and awareness and education and realizing your relationship to food and how it affects you.
Right there, relationship with food. That's probably the number one issue that everybody has. You got to reevaluate how you feel about the foods that you eat and the food choices that you're going to make in the future.
People always like to blame where they're from or their nationality on why they eat a certain way. No, that's an excuse.
It may have been that way,
yes,
but that was then and this is now.
Food was scarce when my grandparents were younger and then went through the Depression. You better eat all your food.
Yeah.
I was brought up that way. You clean your plate.
That's probably why kids are overweight, is because
we make
that's
them
simple.
Eat it. Cook less, Mom.
That's
make
right.
the plate smaller.
I never make my kids eat all their food. Oh, you're not hungry? All right. Well, that's it.
Don't eat. It all goes to being aware. Yes, your relationship with food.
In addition to helping people with their food plans, you guys also train them. What do you think is better, or is it a combination of building muscle and cardio? Which works better to aid in weight loss and fat loss?
Building muscle, resistance training. The more lean muscle you have, the more fat you'll burn. Again, too, we are only getting older. And as we get older, we start to deteriorate. So you want to build already.
So resistance training,
Till the day you die.
it
Till the
keeps
day
you
die.
young.
Yes.
You got to remember, if you're not stimulating the muscle in order to preserve it, then why does the body need to carry it? It wants to get rid of it. It's heavy.
You have to give the muscle a reason to exist. And by resistance training, you give it that reason.
You are also keeping your joints healthy.
If you can keep a little bit of lubrication inside those joints by doing some resistance training, lift something, you're going to keep that muscle tissue on there. And I hate to use the word muscle, lean tissue. It's not all about building muscles. It's just in lean tissue inside the body.
And keeping that muscle moving and activated. Guys, tell me about your journey to this place in your life and all about Be Better Than.
What really got me going was our children. It started with the nutrition. We had kids, and kids get sick, and going to the doctors, going to emergency rooms because of the fevers and stuff. We were just like, no, there's another way. And that's what got us into nutrition. And our kids don't get sick anymore. And having children doesn't do well on the body. I was not the same person. I could not run the same as I used to. I couldn't do the ththings that I was used to doing. So therefore, we got back in the gym.
For me, it was, I hurt my back. The doctor said I had a back of a 76-year-old man. And I was 26 years old. We were just having our third kid. And they said I'd never be able to pick up my kids. You know, at 26, I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, this is insane. I started getting a little bit of a stomach. And then I was really realizing that I was getting overweight and I was letting myself go. And it really was a opener for me to realize that when we get married, we tend to do what the other does. Oh, well, they're not in shape, so why do I need to be in shape? You know, we have that attitude of not really caring about ourselves because we see our spouse or significant other not caring about themselves either. So for me, it was that, and then I needed to get in shape and get my back strong and really go against what the doctors say. And then that kind of just opened the doors for us and, you know, the business.
So it was your own personal experience. You educated yourself, and here you are helping others. And you can empathize. You were there, so you understand.
Yes.
Yeah, educating ourselves is something we did, and we still do every single day. It just doesn't ever stop.
The nutrition part of it is my favorite part. The training, I love that Tim loves that part, because to me, I love the food. I love the immune system, how food ties in with that. I use my kids as guinea pigs and myself as far as what we put in our mouth and how it affects our health. Our bodies are so resilient. So when you see people who are sick all the time, all these different things that they go through, I'm like, oh my goodness, if you would just eat better.
And then you'd feel better. And then your outlook would be better.
Yes. Everything all ties into your food. And to me, that's amazing right there.
I agree with you, Judy.
And if you don't believe us about why nutrition is so important, every time somebody has a terminal disease, immediately they clean your diet. If you could do it before, maybe you can not have such a
dramatic outcome. When you can control your diet, you can control so many other things in your life. It doesn't control you. And when that happens, you're truly free, and your outlook on things just improves tremendously. Thank you guys so very much. How can people find you?
Email us, getyoulean.com. Through our app, we communicate through there. We have calendars, your training program, nutrition program, all is in your phone. Everybody has a phone. So just email us, we'll get you set up, and you have direct access to everything we offer.
So as soon as you email us and you sign up with us, we send you the link. You can get it on your Android or your Apple phone. It just has to be an invite only.
Yes.
In the app, every exercise we put on there has an instructional video. So if you're not familiar with the exercise, you just put the video on your phone, and it shows you exactly the directions on how to perform that exercise.
Our app is set up, like Timothy said, every exercise is in there. We build your workout program for you according to the questionnaire you filled out, how many reps you should do, how long your rest period is, how to do the exercise. It's all in there. Your nutrition program, whether it is written out for you on what to eat for each meal, or if it's just your caloric budget, all that is in there. Your calendar set up on there will tell you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, do this. Thursday, Friday, you're off. Whatever it is, it's all in that app. You need to message us directly. It's right in there. It's instant messaging in the app. It keeps track of your weight increase, weights as in the amount that you're lifting. It keeps track of that, and it also keeps track of your body weight decrease. Everything is on graphs. The calendar also has your weight check-in dates, your progress photos. Everything is scheduled in there. It has so much to offer. All you have to do is just email us at getyoulene@gmail.com.
I want to thank both of you very much for joining me today and sharing all this information.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
Take care. This is such a broad topic, and there are so many subtopics that could each be their own podcast. But I thought this was a pretty good general outline about fat loss, food, and fitness. I hope you learned a thing or two. Perhaps it sparked a little interest. Maybe you'll find yourself being a bit more mindful about what you eat. The good news is that it's never too late to start anything. Your body will obey your mind, and you can start from wherever you are and go as far in the other direction that you want, no matter how far it is from where you want to be. It's just up to you, and you can do it. If you want some inspiration, you can follow Tim and Judy on Instagram at Timmy4112 and at lean_Judy. I will post all of their links and contact information in the show notes, which you can find at howtolife.com/013. I would love to hear your comments and suggestions or podcast requests. You can send them to me at drlj@howtolife.com. If you're still struggling to find the current episode every week, please hit the subscribe button on your podcast platform and the episode will be delivered right to you. It makes it so easy. You can also get the Mominars on YouTube the same way when you subscribe there as well. Was this the podcast that made you a believer? If so, please give it a 5-star review, especially if you're listening on Apple. That and a nice review would be so appreciated. It'll really help in getting this show more well-known. Thanks so much for spending this time with me, everyone. Now go out there and have a fantastic week. Look for the good, be nice to others, but especially be nice to yourself. And be light and easy about everything. You got this.